Hello everyone, it's Catherine from my hillside garden. Today we're going to go get some tomatoes and I'm going to do some canning. And I wanted to start this video with I am not an expert. I did not have anyone teach me how to can. I wasn't lucky enough to have a grandmother or someone in my life who did canning. So I learned by reading the ball book. And I will show you a picture of the ball book. And as long as you can read, follow the directions, it's not that scary, but I am not an expert. So please check out, if you could, from the library, the ball book, or if you, in your community, you have maybe at one of your churches or the library or the local college, sometimes they offer canning classes. Watch here on YouTube, but remember, no one is an expert, so you have to use your best judgment with some things. Cleanliness is the most important thing, and temperature, and being sure that you know what you're canning and how you're canning it. I don't have a pressure canner. I do water bath canning, so I do high acid things. I've only been canning for about 3 or 4 years, so I do basic things like diced tomatoes. We found a salsa recipe that we really like. I do pickled beets. We do dilly dog relish, which is really good. I'll show you the book I got that recipe out of. I think it's just the 2 books. There's a ball book and there's another one that I use. So, but the big thing is cleanliness, and be sure you know the proper type of canning you need to do. And this is for in the United States. We have different rules and guidelines than they do in Europe and in Australia. I'm not exactly sure why. Probably because someone got sued down the line or something. But we don't want anyone to get sick, because getting sick from canned food can be life-threatening. So just join me today. I'm going to pick some tomatoes and I'm going to do tomatoes today. Okay, look at these fabulous tomatoes. These are the Soldaki. And I will be sure to show you what the inside of those look like. They make awesome sandwiches, but I also can with those. I just made some great tomato soup over the weekend. There are the Siberians. That's a determinant. I love those for the salsa, so I'll be picking some of them. Let's bring you around. Try not to go too fast. And here are quite a few of the Jersey Devil. And this is a paste tomato. This one came out lovely this year as well. As you can see from all that rain, I just keep coming out and taking more leaves and more leaves off. But the tomatoes have been fine. So let me get these and I'll show you how many I actually get. I won't probably use them all today, but I will pick a good deal of them because we're due for some more rain. I did pick that huge one that was down here that I showed you in the last video. And then I also have to pick the cherry tomatoes. So I'll be right back. So far this is just the Soldakis. So I guess I have to go empty the colander. But you can see how there's been some splitting, but at least it's not open flesh. And that happens from your tomato plants getting a large amount of water all at once. Excuse me. And the skin will crack, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you have a lot of rain like we had last week, anytime it wasn't raining, I came out to check them. And it seems to happen more with the tomatoes that start to turn color versus the green tomatoes. Here are the Jersey Devil tomatoes. These have all been very nice. Some of them are not quite as ripe, but when I touch them, they came right off. So that's another sign that tomatoes are ready to pick, and they will continue to ripen on your counter. So while I won't get to use most of these today for canning, there's a little damage on here, not too bad. They'll sit on the counter and I'll probably get to them over the weekend. Almost at the end of the Siberian tomatoes. So these are, as I said, are a determinant. They do come in just about all at the same time. So, and I like to use these for the vegetable salsa because they're a firm tomato and kind of hold their shape, so it looks really nice in the salsa. Well, I guess I have my first tomato hornworm. I have never seen any here on my tomatoes, but that little guy is getting gone. Okay, a couple of the things that I wanted to share before I actually do any canning, which I think is going to end up being another video. So I just wanted to give some of my pointers, my tips for people who may be new to canning. This is the book that I use and that I recommend. It's the Bowl Complete Book of Home Preserving. It has fabulous directions on how to water bath can and how to pressure can. So it's well worth this was $22. I don't know how long ago it was I purchased it, but it's worth the money. The other one that I use for recipes that I really like is called Pickled Pantry. She, in her book, Andrea, does single jar, so if you just want to try out a recipe, you could do that. She's got refrigerator pickles, freezer pickles, large batch pickles, and not just cucumbers. She does other things as well. But these are the two books that I use. I'm not affiliated with either one. Then I wanted to talk about jars. You buy canning jars. You can get them from friends. You can get them at yard sales. There's a couple of things you need to look for. Now this is a wide mouth jar, and I like these the best for canning and for freezing. These are the only ones you can freeze. They have the larger lid, and it actually says right on it, for freezing, fill here. You can put these in the freezer. You can use them for storage in your cabinets. You can use them in the refrigerator. But if you're going to freeze, you don't want, and I hope this shows up, see how this has like a shoulder to it? And this is actually a smaller mouth jar. It's a vintage one. It's the only one I had handy. I do not can in this anymore. But so there's two different kinds. To me, this is a more universal one because you can use it in your freezer. I tend to do a lot of soups and broths, and I put them in the freezer. These are just fine, but you can only use them for canning on the shelf. You can't put them in the freezer. Now, if you buy jars or someone gives you jars, what you need to do, you have to inspect the jars to make sure there are no cracks or chips. Now, this can get tricky because you often think, okay, I'll just run my finger along the edge to know whether there's a crack or not. Do a visual inspection first. This is another reason why I won't use this one. There's actually a chip right there, and if I were to rub my finger right around that, like I did on this one, I would probably cut my finger. So just be really careful. Do not use any damaged or questionable jars. They will explode in your canning pot. Not to the point, I mean, I've never had one. I know people talk about it. They don't explode where you would worry about the stuff shooting out to the ceiling. At least I don't think so. But as I said, I'm not an expert. That's my disclaimer. Everything could seep out into the water, and then it just causes a mess. If the jar were to break inside your water bath canner, it would just make a mess. So it's better for you to take a few minutes to inspect your jars to be sure that they are not cracked or broken in any manner. So this one's more just for decoration because it is a vintage one. I did mention cleanliness. What I do is I wipe down everything. I try to put as much away as I can that I'm not going to be using when I'm going to can. It is a process, and you can't be putting things away or cleaning things up as you go along. So take your time, clean your countertops off, and be sure to wash your countertops. The next thing I do is when I have finished my canning for the season and as I'm using my produce, I'm sure to put the jar in the dishwasher or wash it very well with soap and water. And when I store them, I save the boxes they come in and I store them upside down. This way, I'm fairly sure the inside is going to stay clean. I'm not going to have anything grow and go and build a nest in it or anything like that. So it just saves me a step at this time of year when I'm going to be canning again. Do I still wash them again? Yes. I put them in the sink with hot soapy water and I give them a good swish inside. I rinse them very well, and then I have a rack on my other counter and I put them upside down until I'm almost ready to use them. So those are my suggestions just to start with canning. If you've never canned before, don't be afraid to do it. Just get yourself a good resource, read it, and when each year I read through everything again just to be sure that I know the steps I need to take. So this video is getting a little bit long, and I wanted to share that with you as I start my canning today of tomatoes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and follow me along on some of the things that I'm going to can this year. Have a great day. Happy gardening.